Malicious mischief. 1. Definition and intent behind the crime. Definition. Malicious mischief, as defined under Articles 327 to 331 of the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines, involves the intentional destruction of or damage to property for the sake of causing damage or annoyance to the owner or to anyone else. It is an offense aimed not at personal gain but at venting anger or frustration against another, or simply causing trouble. Intent. The key intent behind malicious mischief is malice or ill will. The perpetrator commits the act specifically to cause harm or inconvenience to others. This distinguishes it from accidental or negligent damage to property, which does not involve this spiteful intent. 2. Legal requirements for proof. To prove malicious mischief, the following elements must be established. Intentional damage. The act must be deliberate, not accidental. The damage should be clearly shown to result from an action intended to harm the property. Malice. The damage must be inflicted out of spite, hatred, or ulterior motive against the owner or a third party. Malice can be inferred from the nature of the act or the circumstances under which it occurred. Identification of the offender. It must be proven that the accused was the person who actually caused the damage. Property ownership. The property damaged must be identified, and its ownership must be established to show that the damage affected someone other than the perpetrator. 3. Impact assessment and penalties. Impact assessment. The impact of malicious mischief extends beyond the physical damage to property. It can have emotional and psychological effects on the victims, cause financial burdens due to repairs and replacements, and create community unrest or insecurity. Penalties. The penalties for malicious mischief vary depending on the value of the damage caused and are detailed in Article 328 and 329 of the Revised Penal Code. Damage not exceeding 40,000 pesos. The penalty is arresto menor or fine of not less than the value of the damaged property. Damage exceeding 40,000 but less than 200,000 pesos. The penalty is arresto mayor in its minimum and medium periods. Damage exceeding PHP 200,000 pesos. The penalty is arresto mayor in its medium and maxim periods. Special cases. If the mischief has been committed with the intent to prejudice a third party or the public, or if it involves flooding or sabotage to public utility facilities, the penalties can be more severe. The penalties aim to be proportional to the damage caused, reflecting both the social and personal impacts of the crime. This scaling ensures that the law responds adequately to the harm inflicted while deterring future offenses. In essence, the legal approach to malicious mischief underlines the importance of respecting property rights and maintaining societal order. Discussion on intent across different offenses and its legal implications. Intent is a crucial element in criminal law, playing a central role in defining the nature of an offense and determining the applicable penalties. The intent behind a criminal act not only helps establish the perpetrator's state of mind but also significantly affects the legal consequences of the act. Here, we'll explore how intent functions. Across different offenses in the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines, particularly focusing on theft, robbery, brigandage, estafa, and malicious mischief. 1. Theft and robbery. Intent to gain. Theft. The primary intent is to take another's property without their consent, intending to deprive the owner permanently of their possessions. The act is done silently and without force. Robbery. Similar to theft, robbery involves intent to gain but is distinguished by the use of force, violence, or intimidation. This intent to overpower resistance elevates the severity of the crime and its corresponding penalties. Legal implications. Establishing intent to gain is essential for both theft and robbery. Lack of such intent might lead to a different classification of the act, possibly as trespassing or coercion, which may carry lighter penalties. 2. Brigandage. Intent to commit highway robbery or kidnapping. Brigandage involves the organized intent to commit robbery or kidnapping in public ways, which demonstrates a higher level of premeditation and group coordination. Legal implications. The collective intent to commit crime systematically as a band sets brigandage apart from individual acts of robbery. The penalties are severe, reflecting the significant threat these groups pose to public safety and security. 3. Estafa, fraud. Intent to deceive. Estafa requires a deceptive intent where the perpetrator aims to defraud another by abuse of confidence or deceitful means such as misrepresentation or false pretenses. Legal implications. Proving deceitful intent is key to establishing estafa. Without this element, the act might not constitute fraud but could be considered a breach of contract or a civil dispute, which are handled differently in the legal system. 4. Malicious mischief. Intent to cause damage. Unlike the offenses aimed at personal gain, malicious mischief is driven by the intent to damage property purely for the sake of causing harm or inconvenience, often out of spite, hatred, or revenge. Legal implications. The specific intent to cause damage without compensation or personal gain highlights the malicious nature of the act, leading to criminal penalties even though the act does not involve theft, fraud, or threat to personal safety. Common evidentiary needs in prosecuting these offenses. Prosecuting criminal offenses such as theft, robbery, brigandage, estafa, and malicious mischief requires a specific set of evidentiary needs. Gathering sufficient and compelling evidence is crucial for a successful prosecution. Here's a breakdown of common evidentiary needs for each of these offenses. 1. Theft. Evidence of ownership, documentation or testimony that establishes the ownership of the stolen property. Evidence of unlawful taking, surveillance footage, eyewitness testimony, or forensic evidence linking the defendant to the theft. Absence of consent, evidence showing that the property was taken without the owner's consent, which might include witness statements or victim testimony. Intent to permanently deprive, any statements or behaviors indicating the defendant intended to keep the property permanently. 2. Robbery. Evidence of force or intimidation, testimonies from victims or witnesses describing the use of force or threats during the incident. Linking the accused to the scene, DNA evidence, fingerprints, or video footage showing the accused at the scene of the crime. Victim impact statements, testimonies that detail the physical and psychological impact of the robbery on the victims. Recovery of stolen property, evidence showing where the stolen items were recovered, potentially linking them back to the accused. 3. Brigandage. Evidence of band formation, testimonies or communications that demonstrate the organization and formation of a group intent on committing robbery or kidnapping. Arms possession, recovery of weapons used in the acts, which could tie the group to the planned criminal activities. Witness accounts of the act, descriptions from those who observed the crimes or were victimized by the group. Linked to highway or public place, evidence that the acts occurred in public spaces like highways, which is essential for a brigandage charge. 4. Estafa, fraud. Deceptive acts or representations, documents or communications that show false representations made by the defendant. Link between deception and loss, evidence that directly connects the deception to the victim's financial or property loss. Victim testimonies, statements from victims detailing how they were deceived and the consequences of the fraud. Financial records, banking statements or transaction records that trace the misappropriated funds or property. 5. Malicious mischief. Proof of intentional damage, physical evidence of the damage caused and how it was inflicted. Evidence of malice, any communication or behavior by the accused that indicates the damage was done out of spite, revenge, or other malicious motives. Witness observations, testimonies from individuals who saw the act being committed or who can speak to the state of mind of the perpetrator. Cost of damage, receipts, estimates, or invoices detailing the financial impact of the damage on the property owner. General evidentiary needs. Across all these offenses, certain types of evidence are universally important. Direct evidence, this might include video footage, eyewitness testimony, or a confession. Circumstantial evidence, this includes evidence that implies the guilt of the accused through inference, such as being found in possession of stolen items shortly after a theft. Forensic evidence, DNA, fingerprints, and other scientific analysis that can link a suspect to a crime scene or object involved in the crime. Documentary evidence, written or electronic records that support the case, such as emails, texts, or financial transactions. Collecting robust and legally sound evidence is fundamental to prosecuting these crimes effectively, upholding justice, and securing a conviction in court. Conclusion. In conclusion, the comprehensive analysis of various offenses such as theft, robbery, brigandage, estafa, and malicious mischief within the Philippine legal framework highlights the importance of understanding their unique characteristics, legal definitions, and the evidentiary needs essential for their prosecution. These crimes not only impact the property rights of individuals but also have broader implications for public safety and the integrity of the legal system. Key takeaways. 1. Understanding legal definitions and intent. Each crime has specific elements that define its legal standing and the intent behind it. For instance, the intent to gain is critical in theft and robbery, whereas deception is central to estafa, and malice drives malicious mischief. Recognizing these nuances is crucial for law enforcement and judicial processes. 2. Impact on property rights. These offenses significantly affect individual property rights, from the direct theft of property in robbery and theft to the more complex deprivation of rights through fraud or destruction of property in estafa and malicious mischief. 3. Evidentiary needs for prosecution. Successful prosecution of these crimes depends on thorough and specific types of evidence, from physical proof like CCTV footage and recovered stolen items to testimonial evidence from victims and witnesses. Each piece of evidence must meticulously establish elements like intent, the occurrence of the criminal act, and the linkage of the act to the accused. 4. Criminal actions leading to civil suits. Beyond criminal prosecution, these offenses often give rise to civil litigation, where victims seek compensation for damages incurred. This dual pathway of legal redress underscores the layered impact of these crimes, emphasizing not just punishment but also restitution and deterrence. 5. Educational and preventive value. Educating the public and legal practitioners about these crimes enhances the effectiveness of the criminal justice system and promotes a safer, more law-abiding society. Knowledge empowers individuals to protect themselves and aids in the more effective reporting and prosecuting of crimes. The analysis encapsulates the vital role of legal knowledge and procedural diligence in maintaining justice, upholding individuals' rights, and fostering a respect for law and order within society. This concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening. This is Mr. Moslina. Have a good day.